So let's talk about how we can find the slope of a line through 2 points without drawing the graph. Now I've put out the points right here just to help us out, but I have purposely removed the graph paper. So we know we need to find our rise and our run in order to get the slope. So let's first start with the rise. I like to pretend that there's a starting and ending point. So I'll start at -1, 5, and I will end at 7, 2. So the question is, at some point I had to have rised, or risen I suppose, from 5 to 2. How could I do that? My rise would be, well, I know that if I end at 2 and start off at 5, then the difference is actually -3. And so a way to show that would be to just take 2 minus 5. Now if we run from there all the way over to 7, I apologize, that was very not pretty. We run from x equals 1 to x equals 7, and the distance we ran would be our delta x, which would be 7 minus 1, which is 6. Therefore, our slope would be our delta y over our delta x, which is -3 over 6, or -1/2. I apologize, I actually watched the video back after I made it and realized I made a little mistake here. I'm running from -1 right here, x equals -1 to 7. So actually, our change in x should be 7 minus -1. 7 minus -1. So that should be 8 there, and therefore our slope should be -3 over 8, which unfortunately does not simplify, or -1/2. We can actually generalize this then, because what did we do? Well, if we take a look at these numbers that we subtracted, the 2 was the y value on the ending coordinates, and the 5 was the y value on the starting coordinate. So this is, I'll call it the ending y minus the starting y. And likewise, x equals 7 was the ending x, and the 1 was the starting start x. So let's then take it just a little bit further with our generalization. And so in general, let's suppose I have x1 comma y1. These are just any number. In the previous scenario it was -1, 5, but it could be literally anything. And if I end at, suppose, this point over here, x2, y2, and I draw that line, the slope, as usual, is always delta y over delta x. But that would be simply the ending y value minus the starting y value divided by the ending x value minus the ending x. Oops, sorry, that should not be ending, that should say ending minus starting, but that's okay to make mistakes, because as long as we fix them, we are learning. And another way people write this will simply be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is usually the way you'll see it right here, but if we keep in mind what this actually means, it would be much more helpful to us. I think it makes sense to now do an example of this. So let's suppose we have 2 points, and actually we don't even need that, because now we know how to do it without graphing. Example, let's slope of the line through these 2 points. I'll say -8, 15 and 7, 2. Okay, so here's the thing. Where do we start and where do we end? Let's suppose we start here and end here. So our slope would be our delta y over delta x. So this would be the ending y value. Let's keep in mind this big blue box. Actually, it's super important, so let's put it in a rainbow box. Our ending y value was 2, and our starting is -8. So remember, we are subtracting -8, which will essentially turn it into +8, but we'll get there when we get there. And then we end at 7 for the x value. Oops, see, I messed up already. This should actually be starting y value of 15, and our x value should end at 7 and start at -8. So this would mean our slope is -13 over 15. But what if you did not start at -15 and instead started at 7, 2? That's okay, because let's see what happens if I calculate it that way. I have delta y over delta x once again, but now our ending and starting points have been flipped. So instead of starting at 15 and ending at 2 for the y values, we end at 15 and start at 2. And likewise for our x's, we are starting at 7 and ending at -8. It's like so. So this would now be 13 divided by -15. But notice, these are the exact same number, because when you have 13 over 15, the negative there or the negative on the bottom does not matter, because the end result is just going to be negative, whatever this value is, equals, I don't know what this actually is, 0.8 something, I would guess. And then so -13 over 15 would equal -0.8. But also 13 divided by -15 is going to equal the same thing. So it actually does not matter which one is which, just as long as you agree with the x and the y. So make sure that these two coordinates come from the same point, and these two come from the same point. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay spicy.